The most effective leader relinquishes the ambition to master others in favor of mastering herself.
Okay, you have to tell me more what you think when you read that.
Once again, it kind of, for me, it goes back to how you're showing up, right? How you're presenting yourself when you're dealing with other people. Are you forcing your opinions on them? Are you, trying to be bossy? Are you trying to be controlling? Are you trying to be whatever? Or are you appreciating what they bring to the table and respecting them for their opinions and what they have to offer? Welcome to The Air is Free, the podcast that helps you stop gripping what you can't control and start embracing what you can. Join Frida Karsberg and me, Sue Willoughby, as we dive into real conversations about resilience, personal freedom, and finding your center in a chaotic world. Inspired by the Swedish expression "Luften är fri," which means the air is free, this show is about letting go, trusting the process, and remembering that some things in life were meant to be free and limitless. So take a deep breath, let go of what's weighing you down, and let's get into it. Hey, welcome to a new series, not really series, but a new, this month we're going to be talking about some different things. We're going to dig a little bit deeper, and welcome to The Air is Free. And I am here with my co-host, Frida Karsberg, and we got some juicy stuff to talk about today. How you doing, Frida?
I'm so good. Thank you, Sue. It's always such a pleasure talking to you. How are you?
I'm doing well. I had, it was a challenging week. I was traveling for most of the month of March, and then I came home and I got a cold, and then I'm getting over the cold, and I had to get a big abscessed molar yanked out of my mouth. So I'm finally feeling like I'm getting back to normal, whatever normal is. So that was a big share. Sorry.
That's okay. That's what we do, right? We share.
How are you showing up today?
I mean, I'm tired because it's been a busy week. I had a lot of fun things happening. So yeah, I would say I'm a little bit tired, but also very excited to talk about this today's topic. So I can't wait to start that.
Fantastic. All right, well, let's get into it. Today, we're going to dig a little bit deeper. We've been talking about control and all that kind of stuff over the past month. And today, we're going to talk about leadership. And that can mean a lot of things to a lot of people in different ways, whether it's corporate, whether it's, whatever. But we're going to talk about leadership versus control. So we're kind of sticking with that control theme. And we're also going to bring in the perspective of the horse. As you know, we're both equus coaches and we use horses in our coaching practices. So from the horse's perspective, leadership versus control. And we were talking before we came on about what exactly is leadership. So Frida, what does leadership mean to you?
Why I'm laughing is because to me, leadership I don't love that word because I just go straight to think about corporate, someone who's like pointing with his whole hand, like, blah, 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 this is how I feel, you should do this. So I guess it's a negative tone to it. But when we talked before we got on, you explained some things to me like you always do. And I realized that leadership in your own life is actually a good thing, right? Because you want to be able to, and I don't want to use the word control, but you want to be able to understand what's good for you to make choices in your life and, navigate your life. So that was a very long rant, but leadership to me, since 5 minutes ago, I guess it's a good thing because I want to lead my life in the way I want to live it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think, leadership, you think of corporate America and whatever. But leadership, I think, personally comes in many forms, like, in the herd with the horses and all of that. And I want to just talk for a minute. Every Sunday, part of my ritual is I do a card pull. And I have a couple of different decks that I pull from. And one of my favorite ones has to do with horses. And the deck is The Way of the Horse. So I pull, 5 cards. But one of my favorite cards that comes up for me personally frequently is called In a Silent Way. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, it is a horse. It's just a horse's face that is in kind of a mottled sunshade kind of thing. And it's a very serene image of this horse. And one of the things that they talk about in this about this particular card, you talk about leadership in a way of which herd mate, right, would you choose to follow? The one that is going to push you off the hay pile, or the one that's going to lead you to the water and let you drink? And I think that is a really beautiful example of leadership, just in general. I know that, in my tenure in corporate America, I had micromanagers, I had people that were just forcing their opinions on you. I had that, it was like they didn't really allow you to be you. So I think leadership to me personally is how you show up, for yourself, how you show up for others, and how you show up in community, right? And and maybe your tribe is just two people. I don't know. But there's another good quote in here. It says, the most effective leader relinquishes the ambition to master others in favor of mastering themselves. So I'm going to just use that to open up our discussion today, Frida.
And beautiful. I love it. I love good card pulls, first of all. And I love that deck too. You gave it to me. You gifted it to me once, and also like to pull cards from there. Yeah, there's so many things to think about when you read. Can you read that one last one again, please? The relinquish one.
Oh, yeah. The most effective leader relinquishes the ambition to master others in favor of mastering herself.
Okay, you have to tell me more what you think when you read that.
Once again, it kind of, for me, it goes back to how you're showing up, right? How you're presenting yourself when you're dealing with other people. Are you forcing your opinions on them? Are you trying to be bossy? Are you trying to be controlling? Are you trying to be whatever? Or are you appreciating what they bring to the table and respecting them for their opinions and what they have to offer? And we can bring the horses into this, because the horses will tend to look at the leader, right? Not the biggest, bossiest, the stallion that's pushing everybody around, or even the gelding that's pushing everybody around, or whatever. Typically in horse herds, they look to the calmest, most centered horse to be like, hey, are we in trouble here? Should we run like hell to get away from this? Or what's your take on it? And then that horse and leadership in the herd can change, right?
Yeah.
It's not always, they're just going to look to the calmest, most centered horse to be like, what the do we do?
Yeah.
What's your take on it?
Yeah. No, but I think that's great. And I think that's like in human life too. Like when you think about it, of course, it's great to have like a charismatic leader that tells you like this is how we should do things and blah blah blah. But for me personally, I prefer human that is like very centered, calm, and works in the quiet. That's maybe how I would say it, because I don't like when people are demanding things from me or telling me what to do. I love when people can say like, hey, okay, can you tell me what you think? They listen and maybe give me like good feedback about like, this is good, this is maybe not so good. Can we tweak this? Why don't we do this? Because that gives me a creative process, and also it makes me feel seen and I can grow from that. And, it's kind of like they're pulling out the good stuff instead of just like shutting everything down. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. And I have a couple of friends that have been in very high leadership places, and people will follow them from company to company. And it's like, why? It's because the person is present, the person listens and takes in the big picture, not just trying to push their agenda on everyone, And I think leading by example is huge. When I was younger and I was in retail, and which is kind of a shit job anyway. But I mean, a lot of people, they're there and it's like minimum wage or whatever. And it's like, I would not ask someone to clean the toilet unless I was willing to do it myself. I mean, that's just kind of how I feel about it. It's like, yeah. So, and that was kind of a weird example, but
Okay. Thank you for thinking about it before saying it. If it was weird. I mean, I'm okay with weird, but yeah. Yeah, so okay, this all sounds good to me, but how can we understand what is good like leadership? Like how can we um how can we work with this, and how can we learn, and how can we change if we feel like we don't know how to do this?
So I think that's a great question. How do we know if, okay, and so leadership, you don't have to be a CEO. You don't have to be, head of something. You don't have to be whatever. I think leadership, as we were talking about early on, is just how do you, present yourself to your friends and family? How do you show up? I mean, do you show up as someone who is, and I'm not talking about being a wimp or anything, but I'm just saying, how do you show up? Do you show up from a place of from being grounded and opening yourself up to what's really going on around you? Once again, for me, this comes back to finding that equanimity, finding that calm in the storm, so that when you are in a situation, you can, if need be, lead people out of that situation or help to guide them. I feel that a good leader is a guide, is like, hey, I'm feeling this, I'm seeing this, I am happy to help you, right? That as coaches, I feel like we are leaders.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're guides. We're not telling someone what to do. We're helping them find the answers. We're helping them pull. I think you were, when we were having our conversation, so, or just now, you were saying, somebody that allows you to be yourself and helps you, pull things out of you to benefit the rest of the whatever, the project, the situation, the whatever. Does that make sense? What do you think?
I mean,
I can hear those wheels turning in your brain.
right? It feels like I can't sort my thoughts today. It's too many.
Just tell me the first thing that's coming to your mind when we're having this conversation.
I mean, I think, okay, so the first thing that comes to my mind is like, this is so difficult to me. And I think
What is difficult? Tell me what.
being a good leader,
Uh,
because I think, so here's my how do you say it in English? My 5 cents to the story.
well, tell me a little bit more about leadership and how you think it relates to you, because neither of us are in corporate America right now, although, I know that you do work with other people and you have a capacity in the job that you're doing, but not being in a typical corporate structure, let's say. But do you see yourself as a leader?
No, it's my first answer. No, I don't.
Okay.
It's kind of, interesting because as you were mentioning earlier, we are guides, we are leaders as coaches. And I think, well, yeah, I am a leader when I work, but I feel like I have a hard time realizing that I am. I don't think I want to go in saying like, hey, I'm the leader here. I think I more want to feel my way through it and just feel confident enough to be a leader without pronouncing it, if that makes any sense. So these past couple of years have been really life-changing for me when it comes to my spiritual practice and also my coaching practice and all that stuff, because I have been forced in a good way to be a leader and to trust my abilities as a leader. So the no to your answer is, I still don't see myself as a leader, but I can feel as a leader or a guide because I know my stuff now and I know how to use them in my own way, and I know that I'm helping people doing so. Yeah. Long answer as always.
No, that's a good answer. I mean, there's no right answer and there's no wrong answer
Mhm.
to, being a leader. And I think horses are really, to bring the horses back in, which I always love to do, is that, like I said, they, are existing in a herd. We are herd like creatures too. We're not solitary, even though you may spend time by yourself a fair bit, but we are still looking to others. And I mean, think about it. If you're in a group, right, of humans, and something's going on, who are you going to look to? The person that's running around like a chicken with their head cut off? Or are you going to look at the person that is, thoughtful and saying, okay, let's just calm down for a minute and figure out what to do? Right. So I think you're right. I think you started off our conversation by saying that you thought that leadership has a negative connotation. Feel like it may be a bit of a block for you to think
Mhm.
in terms of leadership. So I'm going to shift that language and just say, we're talking about leadership in terms of control, because I think a lot of people think that in order to be a leader or to be in charge of something, you have to be in control. Does that resonate with you in any way?
Yeah, totally. Thank you for doing that, Sue. You made it easier for me to understand.
And
No, but I have a question for you.
yes.
I wanted to, okay, I might put you on the spot here, sorry. But I'm curious to hear if you have an example when you thought you were a very good leader.
You mean aside from the toilet cleaning?
Yeah.
You know, like I'm similar to you. I mean, I have led teams before in, my corporate life and so forth. And was I always a good leader? I mean, I think it's kind of an on the job thing. There are times but I've definitely known when I felt like the people that were in charge as managers or leaders were not great. Right. So I feel like I've learned from other people's mistakes. And I've also learned from watching, like I said, people that I know that are in leadership roles, like how they present themselves and trying to model their behavior. So, yes, there have been times when I felt like it's weird, but I feel like I tend to be quiet, which may shock some people, but I feel like sometimes I'm quiet and I hold back a little bit, but I'm observing and I'm trying to find where my place is. I find my center. Where do I fit into this? How can I add to this situation? And how can I draw out the best in people? And I think that that's something that just comes with emotional, intelligence and emotional maturity. I wasn't always that. I was the opposite of that. I just sort of charged ahead and everything, I wanted things to be my way. And I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like I want people to contribute. I want to, and like, we talked about in a previous episode, how you and I work together. There's a lot of give and take. And I don't feel like either one of us is the leader. I feel like the roles shift.
Yeah, that's totally
I don't
true.
know if that was a great example, but that's, just my approach to quote unquote leadership is to relinquish that control and get the input. And I'm not talking about you have to get a consensus on everything. I've been in those kind of meetings before and it's like a circle jerk, right? Everybody's like, because everybody's got their own agenda, right? Everybody wants to lead. That's not the way it works. So it's complicated.
So complicated. Life is complicated, right? And we just have to figure out what works best for us, and maybe also pay attention to how people react on our energy that we're sending out, right? To make a good flow that we need in our life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really do think it comes down to how you show up. And are you going to be the person that people will look to? Like I said, I honestly feel like people are drawn to me. Not everyone, but there have been times in my life when I felt like, why are these people coming to me for this thing? Why are people coming? Do you ever have that, Frida?
I mean, both yes and no, I guess.
You just don't want to admit it. And I'm not saying that from an egotistical standpoint. I'm just saying, I felt like people have come to me to to ask a question or to, get feedback or to do whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. Why are they coming to me? But it must be something because just like I said, with the horses, they will look to the person that they feel like has the answers or is willing to be calm and level-headed in that situation.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I come that's why I come to you all the time and like ask you all these questions, and because you will take a minute and you will actually think about what I'm saying, and come with either feedback or telling me that I got it. So I think that's awesome. You're a great leader in that way.
And so are you. And so now it's my turn to tell you what I see in you,
Oh, this is
right? And
probably
why I feel like, what's that?
this is a really great. I mean, I'm gonna feel so good after this episode. All the love.
It is a meeting of the Mutual Admiration Society has come to order. Boom. No, here's the thing that I see in you, right? I can be really scattered. I can be all over the place and I have a million great ideas and but when it comes to execution, and I think, you and I will bounce ideas off each other and then we come to like, okay, yeah, let's do that. And then you are really good at putting that practical stuff together and you are really good at the list making and the organization and all of that stuff, but from a calm point and not a point of, well, okay, it has to be this way. You're just like, all right, let's put this let's put some structure around this. So you're really good at the structure part. Whereas I'm kind of like Ricochet Rabbit sometimes, bouncing off the walls. And I think that actually came up because you were doing an intuitive reading with me one time and you're like, stuff is everywhere. And I'm like, yeah, welcome to my world.
Yeah, I was exhausted after that. Oh my God. So many things happening at once. Yeah. But thank you for
So,
saying that, Sue. That's, I really appreciate that.
well, and that's why you're very good at what you do in the world of television, which you have worked in the past and, work periodically because that world needs structure. They need to look to someone to say, okay, what are we doing now? And when do we do that? And how is that going to happen? And that is your strong point, as well as the energy that you bring to the situation.
Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do we all feel warm and fuzzy now?
So warm and fuzzy. It's so nice.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
It was kind of a weird conversation, but I think that, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean, you know, do you have a better feeling of leadership now at all?
I do, for sure. I think you were able to bring it down from the high horse up there that I see sometimes, like, leadership. And
I
just
am the leader.
exactly. I don't love that. I want to be, I am the leader. Please come join me and we can talk about stuff. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, you made it feel a lot way better. I have a better understanding of leadership. And I also think that you boost my self-confidence so much. So I feel like really nice about stuff. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I think we support each other in a really healthy way. And that's the way I like to think about our friendship and our relationship. I really do appreciate you for that. So, what would be an actionable takeaway for someone? Like I said, not that we're teaching you how to be a CEO or anything, but just in a way that you can look at leadership differently.
Yeah. I mean, you have to maybe step out of your own bubble for a second and look at your life and like how are people responding or reacting to the messages that I'm trying to get through, right? I think that would be like the step number one. What do you call that in English when you kind of like screen yourself, like, how am I doing this, you know how am I a leader?
Mm.
And then you just have to make a decision, like, who do I want to be in this? Do I want to be the one who's like ordering people to do things, or is it actually good for me to take a step back and listening to other ideas before making a decision? Like all those sorts of things. Do you have
Yeah.
anything in mind, Sue?
Yeah, so let me just recap what you said. It was, start figuring out what your leadership style is like and how you present yourself, right? And how are you showing up for people? Are you ordering people around or are you sitting back and trying to figure out a, more of a consensual, pathway or so to speak. So yeah, I agree. I think showing up is understanding how you show up and what you bring to the party. And I think I'm going to use this as a segue to talk about our upcoming retreats. We have one at the end of May, and it's in Paso Robles, California. And if you are unclear about how you are showing up to others, the horses are really good at helping you figure that out because you can't really force a horse to do something. You have to show up in a way that makes them feel like you are grounded and that you understand them and that you're willing to work with them, yet in a way that they feel safe with you. So, our retreat that's coming up is 3 days, Paso Robles, California, at a beautiful private ranch near Lake Nacimiento, which I could never say that word for the longest time. And Frida and I are co-facilitators on this. And Frida, would you like to give your 2 cents on the upcoming retreat?
Yeah, sure. Well, as I always say, it's a safe space of exploration. You get to be yourself for 3 full days, which is pretty awesome. That doesn't happen often in everyday life. We will be there to guide you and facilitate the whole retreat. But for us, it's very important that you feel seen and heard from, and that's why we keep it to like a pretty small group of participants. It's of course, a lot of horses that is going to help us, but you don't have to have any horse experience. You can come to us and never seen a horse in real life, and we will guide you through what you need to do to start working with yourself in our way. Yeah, I think that's it. Do you have anything to add, Sue?
No, I think that's it. And also being around horses will show you a different way to show up and to be in community and to get in touch with what's really going on inside you and not just the facade that you show to the world. So it may sound a little scary, but it's really an amazing experiential journey. So please join us. We would love to have you there. If you're curious about it, I'll put the link in the show notes. And any last words, Frida?
I mean, reach out if you have any feedback or if you want us to talk about something in particular. We're always open to hear your thoughts about the work that we do.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're here for you. We love bringing you this content. So please share this episode with a friend, rate the podcast, and all of that. Subscribe. Please subscribe. We'd love that.
Yeah, we love it.
I love that. We love being here for you. We love being here with you. And until next week, don't forget that the air is free.
I couldn't have said that better.
That's it for today's episode of The Air is Free. I hope this conversation gave you something to think about, something to let go of, and maybe even a little more space to breathe. If you enjoyed this episode, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button, rate and review the podcast because it helps more people find us and join in the conversation. And if something resonated with you, share it on social media and be sure to tag us. We'd love to hear your thoughts. You can follow us on Instagram, hit us up on our websites. Just come, say hi, send us a message, or let us know what topics you'd love to hear more about. Until next time, take a deep breath, let go of what you can't control, and remember, Luften er free.